ancient,
Second one going.
forgotten. This is Harbor Town. Harbor Town is an all-new series from Miniature Building Authority, the leader in tabletop gaming scenery. Unique, flexible, and playable, Harbor Town will take your games to a new destination.
There's Jason. Hey, Jason, can you hear us? Please say yes.
I hope they can. Yep. Oh, good. Good. Uh-oh. Oh, Roxy.
Yeah. That's funny, Rox. I got a knot in my headset. It's driving me crazy. I'm trying to undo it in between talking.
Yeah, my throat that tinkles like crazy, so that's...
How's Wizards of the Couch 2? Is it up?
I can't see the stream, I can only see the chat, so...
Wizards of the Couch 2, okay. Music's too loud. Sorry. This is called our shtick on my channel. We talk over ads. So this is not part of it. We're 8 minutes before the show actually starts.
Yeah, I texted it in Wizard Couch chat, so we'll see. Yep.
Exactly. It's the stuff before the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Got it. What's up, Gitano?
Yep. Thank you, Alyssa. Yep.
Oh, Alyssa's on.
Yeah, she's on Wizard of the Couch.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the awesome last night. Yep. Awesome hangout.
Hang over here too. There you go. Enjoy it on both channels, please.
Hi, Gary. Welcome.
I'm going to throw this next one up because it's your map. And I cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Showing Anna's Shieldlands area map edited for my campaign, so I'm a little bit proud of this.
Yeah, I love your name. The Walworth Crossing had made it into my campaign too.
That is so fantastic.
Yep.
We were just in Radiant Fork last night under the L and Shieldlands.
Cool. Yeah.
We still got 6 minutes, guys, so I figured I'd give you some eye candy ahead of time. This is what we do on my channel here. But we always talk over the ads, so
yep.
No worries. Part 5 is the finale of that. We get to Well, wherever you are, I hope you're all hanging in there. And let's at least have a little fun tonight.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point of all this, is to enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, we all have to sit at home, and unless we're working on something mission critical, so yeah.
Gary, I hope it holds out, because I got a big announcement at some point. Mega announcement for me, for this channel.
Yes.
Here we go. Switching in 3. What time is it here? Well, we got 5 minutes still. Let's go to this. New from my first sponsor, Miniature Building Authority. Shantytown's coming soon to Kickstarter. Can't wait. Aloha. Look at that. We got people from all over the world.
Yeah.
That's how popular Anna is.
Let's see. Yeah.
Almost there, guys. 4 minutes. Usually come on 1 minute early on our shows, on our talk shows. So. And we gave away 3 sets of these on last night's game show.
The awesome dice that rolls high.
Oh, man.
At least not for you, but I bet they do better with others.
I think I lost 7 initiatives in a row last night, Anna. I think it was 7.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, Robert. Stratagem's a sponsor of the Lord Kazama channel as well, and they're great mats and dice and DM screens, all cool stuff. Yeah, that's right, Rox. I lost four times. I lost in a tie, and then the 5th roll I lost. Yeah, last night. You're right. Let's go to our welcoming Anna screen, shall we? Don't say that, Gary. Don't. Yeah, the answer is yes, but don't say that, please.
Yep.
For me, and figured we'd share some of that eye candy for you here before we start. All right, everyone ready? It's gonna be a fun 2 hours.
Okay. Yep.
Here we go. Welcome. Good evening, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Jay Scott, aka Lord Kazumba. This is the Lord Kazumba channel. We've been on for almost 2 years now on Twitch, and I've grown very fond of the lady that I'm going to be with tonight. We've become really good friends over these last 2 years, so please welcome Anna Meyer for her seminar for fantasy cartography.
Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome. And
you're welcome.
To do all the technical know-how and all the bells and whistles and stuff, that's awesome. So, and welcome to hold of the Wizard of the Couch crowd too. And I see some great friends there too. So it's awesome. And we will not see Jay for the whole show because he will be hidden behind that animation. That would be so funny. Yep. So that would be kind of funny. So yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there might be a few people here coming who have no clue who I am, or just because they saw something about maps. So I'm Anna B. Meyer, and I've been doing fantasy cartography for over 20 years, and for about almost 10 years now professionally. And I've done a whole bunch of maps for various publishers and stuff, but most of you probably come because of my Greyhawk maps, because that's started as a hobby like 20 years ago, and that's still the main hobby and part of my work through Patreon and stuff. So this is going to be kind of talking about maps, fantasy maps from a principle, what I'm been doing, how I'm doing stuff. So it will not be so much kind of a workshop on exactly how to use Photoshop or any of the other tools. That's not really the scope here. Its scope is kind of to present things about my maps, how I think about when I create them, the tools behind them, the thinking behind them, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about what I'm up to and so on, and more than a little bit. We have about 2 hours, so please put questions in like brackets and capitals if you have a question, so then we can see them in chat, and we will get to them as quickly as possible.
I'm monitoring Lorca Zumba, and Anna's going to monitor Wizards of the Couch, so we should be able to handle this. But I got my Rocks on as a mod, so he can help as well get my attention if we miss something. So we have a good team here, and let's just have fun with that. And McLaird 1, you gotta. I don't understand the question, so please. State it in another form there if you don't mind. So, all right, Anna, let me know.
Okay.
What she's going to tell me to switch? We'll go from slide to slide with a lot of discussion
here. So go to the next slide, and let's start where I started. And the big thing that I've done the last year is that I've updated my Greyhawk map. Originally, this is a map that was created by me for my own campaign. I started like a bit over 22, 23 years ago. Started to make this map just for my own games, and then the internet came around, and I realized this is kind of cool. I can share this with others, so I started putting it on a website like almost 20 years ago, and then people started sending me emails, and the rumor it was cat was out of the bag, so to speak, and this have grown over the years to become way bigger than just my little campaign map. And then it was in the beginning, I kind of just followed all the Greyhawk content as it was published. So it started with back in before the Greyhawk Wars, and then came and all the content happens during the war, and the From the Ashes and all that. And then came the Living Greyhawk campaign, and I just expanded it with it. And then it ended up in 598. That was my year of my campaign. And now I realize that everybody wants the standard map, the 576 map. So this last year
Definitely.
I sat down. Yeah,
that's an absolute definite answer to that. The 576 map. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh!" Especially all the old school crowd. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So last year I sat down and did it. I thought it was going to take maybe a month, maybe or something like that. But the more I started reading about all the material, that was like a rabbit hole. So it took me like 6-8 months to do this. So I overhauled the terrain, and I edited that one, and then I edited all the settlements and borders and stuff like that. So it was a hell of a lot of work to get it done, but it came out, and now the 576 map have now become the staple, the standard map that everything will kind of revolve around in the future. So it become the reference map from now on. So that's the start of it. So, and this map is available for free. It's a Creative Commons, and I will jump into that a little bit later about the Creative Commons and the whole shebang, but you can get it on annabmeyer.com. You can get it for free. And the reason I can spend so much time working on this is
shout out link. There you go.
Yep. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's all my Patreon members that helped me to fund this endeavor, so I can work like a third or a couple of days a week at least on just maintaining and upgrading and doing new Greyhawk stuff. So thank you everyone, especially in dire times like this, that you can help me out. So, and that's the other thing, during this virus crisis and the pandemic, I will have all my Patreon posts will be public. So you don't, if you can't afford to support me or anything, you will get the stuff right away anyway. So that's the pledge. So yep.
Let me say, and I know Katana just said it, and Calatar Hill 2007 just said it, it's the best $5 you're ever going to spend as a Patreon a month. I mean, it's no brainer, absolute no brainer to do that. So
thank you.
I'll link it multiple times during the show.
Okay, so let's go to the next next one here, and this is the latest. Up until today is the latest. It is the latest addition to the Greyhawk stable of maps. Is the Rivers of the Flannies. This was a kind of something that I've had in my back of my mind for years to do a map that kind of tells you if what rivers can you sail on, and where do you need to use a canoe, and where can you go in a war galley, so to speak, and where can you take your whole party and horses and a whole load of treasure and stuff down the river. So it has all the rivers are classified from non-navigable all the way up to ocean ships. So it's like 5 classes of rivers, and then there's more arrows that tells you which direction the river's flowing, and then there's major waterfalls on marked there too. So that's the latest one that released. It's only a release candidate, so it's not fully polished yet. So I've released it to the last week to everybody, and then we'll see how much criticism and stuff that will pop up, because there are probably people that have read somewhere that that river is navigable or that river is not navigable or something. So that's the latest edition of the map. And then go to the next
Sure.
next one. Yep.
Oh.
And then we have the spread maps. That's the kit that I put together because I felt I needed it, and I think that a lot of people can need it. And that's the spread map. I just finished that one an hour ago, so that will come tomorrow, the spread map kit for the new 576 map. So that way the spread maps are what you all seen it, especially in times like this, where you can see where certain things exist or not, meaning where's your evil cult, and how much is a demon infestation spreading, where do they have a elven religion, etc. So all these kind of things, from where certain animal lives to alignments, to how rich people are in what area, all these things you can kind of easily paint over colors on the map, from political maps to all sorts of stuff. They usually call spread maps or data maps or something. So this is a kit it's a Photoshop file that you can use in GIMP as well. And they come in several resolutions. And this time it will come in full resolution as well. So if you want to use the full quality map, you can have that too. So that will come tomorrow. So yep. So that's the immediate next. And now, go to the next slide here. And we have, now it comes to one of the key points that I think a lot of people miss here with this map. These maps are not me just giving you a map that you're supposed to just take it or leave it as it is. The maps are Creative Commons, and they are the by NCSA version, meaning these maps, meaning you can download even the raw material, the raw files, and you can make your own version of them, and you can share that version. So that's the key point here, is that I want everyone who wants to use these maps to be able to make their own version, to make the maps their own. That's the key here. So it's not something that I own or even control, really. It's supposed to be something for the Greyhawk community to use.
And if you scroll down on my channel here, you'll see that I have the Wizards of the Coast as well in all my little pop-ups that you can see. I have a WotC fan content policy as well on the channel, and it's something that we really need to have. Absolutely.
So the basis, or the basic of the quick summary of this Creative Commons license, is that you can share and adapt and reshare all the my Greyhawk maps that has this label on it, or this under this license. The only restrictions really is that you have to give me credit, and you also are not allowed to sell it. But that's not so much because I would come after you necessarily. It's more like Wizard of the Coast will probably come after you if you do it. So it's not only a protection for me, it's a protection for anyone who tries to use it. So it's kind of an to inform people that using it. And now I need to say that it happens. I see almost every week someone sends me an email saying, oh, there's a company somewhere making carpets or tapestries or wallpaper or whatever it is, or like bed sheets or something with my maps on it. They even have them on Amazon for some whatever it was. So I'm not affiliated with any of them, just so you know. So there's people selling my prints of various kinds with my maps on it. So, but yeah.
So here's 2 questions. So Gary Julian asks a very pertinent one. I think the answer to that is yes. Does that mean that your maps or pieces of them can be used in fan production like Dirt Journal? Yeah, they're on my channel.
Yes, exactly. Anyone can just download my maps from there and rip parts of them, redo parts of them, and just put them in on their website, or in and distribute to their players, or in a fan scene, or anything. The only thing that I would like is to have a credit saying that the original map was done by me, and that's it. That's all you need to do. And you can print them too. For your own use, you can print them. If you want to print a big map and put on your wall, or make a book out of them, you're perfectly
Just
able
cannot
to do that.
resell or sell.
Exactly. You can't sell them, but you can print them for your own use. Yep, definitely.
And Brarwickian asks, how do you keep focus so long? Do you get tired of Greyhawk sometimes?
At times, yes, maybe. But on the other hand, it's still a hobby for me. That's the wonderful thing. And it's I need to live a life to do other things. I go out hiking, and I do a lot of landscape photography and stuff like that. And now I also do half my work time, or 2/3 of it, I do maps for other publishers, Cobalt Press, and I've done for a whole bunch of others over the years now. And that means that coming back to Greyhawk is like coming back home. It's my baby in that way, that I know the land much better. So and I also have, thanks to all the wonderful people in the Greyhawk community, all the ones now, you listen to me, and you come here and ask questions, and tell me what to do better, what I'm doing good, and what I'm not doing not so good. So it's now it's thanks to if it just were for me, I would probably not, first of all, I would not be able to do this without all the help from others, because there is no chance that I can read all the 50,000 new pages being written every decade about Greyhawk. So it's really a community effort, and I'm just the one sitting scribbling it down, so to speak, and then hand it out and have the best quality control team in the world.
So, McLaird1 asks, are you doing it in Photoshop? What resolution are you working in? And you maybe want to talk about your system.
Photoshop is one part of it, and I will show, there will be slides coming here, but the whole process is explained
Excellent.
in detail. But when it comes to the resolution, the original map is done in 600 dpi, meaning the original map is 100,000 pixels across. I've actually limit that from 600 to 300 dpi, and then down to 200 for the terrain. So now the terrain is 25,000 pixels instead of 100,000, because even my beefy computer with 64 and 128 gigabyte of RAM started to be a bit too much for them. So
questions are pouring in, which is awesome,
okay.
man. So,
Yeah.
Gary Julian asked, Malden and I found an error in the Iron Gate era. I gave him your email, anna@greyhawkmaps.net,
Yes.
and just Anna, it goes on, and Anna updates on Patreon when she makes changes to the 576 or 598.
And there will be new versions of it. I've basically done a new version every year. So I because there takes me about a week just to publish all the different versions. So what I do is I collect all the changes, and then I sit down, and sometimes I do a revision every 6 months or so, and just send out a new JPEG. But often I take like a whole new year, and then I take like 3 weeks, and I go over all the changes, and then I make a new version, and then I export it. So usually about a month of work to make a new edition. So this is the 2020 edition, and there will be, but now the way I work will change in the future, and we're coming into that later, so to speak. But you can go to my website and send me on the contact form and tell, or you can send me on Twitter, or you can send me on Facebook and stuff. There will be, at the end of the show, there will be a contact, so you can save that one, and there will be all the ways to get a hold of me and get in touch.
So Robert Conley asked, well, there are like mapping coastline differences between your map and Darlene, and is that okay?
Yeah.
So you want to elaborate?
There's several reasons for it. One is simply because Darlene doesn't have. I have about 10 to 50 times more detail, meaning the Darlene map is effectively, each hex is 30 miles. So there's no detail that is smaller than 30 miles on Darlene map effectively. And my map is about 1 pixel per mile. So I have 30 times more detail, which means that you have to fill it with something. That's one thing that differs between me and Darlene. And then it's simply that you have to realize I started this map over 20 years ago. That was on a Pentium with like 4 megabytes of RAM, and it was minuscule. And the software I used, I couldn't overlay the original map or Darlene map. So I had to sit there and look at the Darlene map and then look at the computer and try to make it match. So that's the other main reason that it's not it doesn't match exactly in anywhere nearly that. And the third reason is that the fractals I used Brace. It's a very primitive terrain generation program, and the fractals in there are going haywire. So sometimes they just created something that looked cool and kind of matched the Darlene map, but it was not in exactly the right spot. And that meant that I went with it. So that's why those 3 reasons are the main reasons why it doesn't match square for square or hex for hex. If I'd done the map today, I would have been able to load the Darlene map and then match it almost perfectly and add a detail to it. But 25 years ago, that was not a possibility. So that there's technical reasons for it, and there's kind of practical reasons for it too.
So, Skeeto 55555. Is there any chance of getting an index of what sources you pulled from different locations? I think that may be Jason Zavoda's realm of
He's
helping
the
out
expert
that.
of that. He's the expert. But there are some new tools coming in
Yeah.
that we're going to talk about later that will help in this in the future. So, yep.
Excellent. So you want to
So let's go to the other the next slide, because there are a couple of things I want to just pass over the next 10 minutes before
Sure.
we go, and then we can dive into Greyhawk, all the rest, so to speak. So some of you might not realize what I'm doing when I'm not doing Greyhawk maps. And the main thing I've done the past 5-6 years is that I worked for Cobalt Press to upgrade and do new versions of the Midgard maps. I started with the Southlands, and then I moved into I've done Midgard, and now I work on another secret project that hasn't been announced yet that I'm about to hand in. So there is more stuff coming. So this is one of the technical masterpiece so far in my mapping career, is this map that is in the background that I did for. This is actually the Midgard, the kind of central part of Midgard and the Southlands all in one, in full 3D seen from space. And this map took me about a month to get it together, and it took me 10 days just to get this damn picture rendered. And it was more of an experiment. Wolfgang wanted a cool image, and I say, I'll get something for you. And then I had to bite my word and eat it and produce it. But it's kind of a cool map from a technical perspective, so to speak. So it's you can see the whole thing from space. So that's
It's
that's
neat.
the yeah.
Really,
So
really
then,
neat.
yeah, go to the next picture here.
Sure.
So yeah. So this kind of pulled off my first big commissioned project that I did was Southlands, and to the left there is a detail of what the Southland maps look. This was my first map that I did using real modern tool, fairly modern at the time, 6-7 years ago that it was modern, using World Machine and Real 3D. So this one is actually created in real 3D. There's some fake with the rivers and stuff because I didn't know how to program rivers back then. And then I did that one. But the funny thing in the story is that I did one version first, and I had 9 months or 8 months I was supposed to work on this. And 3 months into it, or about 3-4 months into it, like halfway into it, I realized that I don't like this one bit. So I threw everything out. I threw away 4 months, almost 4 months of work, and started over again. And I'm so glad that I did, because the first one looked awful compared to this one. So I matured a lot in my mapping from those months of work, so to speak. And that's the results. And it still holds up fairly well. So I'm kind of I like that map. I'd never played in Southlands. I never actually played in Midgard. But it was a cool setting to map. It was a lot of interesting things, and it was a huge area. So yeah. So, okay, go to the next one. And here we have something that's my only published city map. And it's the Per Bastet. It's one of the big central cities and kind of focal points of the Southland setting. and I didn't do the design of the city, but I had a sketch that was produced previously, and then I kind of made it into. And the cool thing with this map is that it's actually placed in the real terrain of Southlands, of the surrounding area, so of Nuria. So it has, and it has real 3D statues and stuff like that. So it's way more work behind it, because we did a lot of renderings from various angles and stuff that didn't make it into the book. So it's a bit like producing movies. You produce a lot more content that will actually make it into the final product. So this was my first kind of forte into a city map, because it was like so cool, and I had some of it, and Wolfgang asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said yes, and so then I did it. So, yeah.
Gary's asking what software was used.
The terrain is used, created in World Machine, and then I've added the terrain and textures and stuff in Photoshop, and the buildings is a quick and dirty, just a style sheet in Photoshop. So it's very quick and dirty. So the pyramids and the buildings are very quickly just done in Photoshop, and then the text and labels are put in using Illustrator. So that's the whole process, and we're going to dig into in detail how the World Machine, Photoshop, Illustrator kind of thing works.
Beautiful.
So it's coming here in a bit. Yep. So we're going to do an anatomy of a 3D map. So we're getting into that a little bit later. Okay, so let's go to the next one here. So then after I'd done Southlands, I did a few small maps and projects for Kobold Press, and a bunch of others that came in here that comes after this. But Midgard, the upgrade, and this is something I'm really honored by, because Jonathan Roberts had done the previous map of Midgard, and it was my job to upgrade and redo his map. And you have to remember, this was in the heyday of Game of Thrones, and Jonathan Roberts had done the official map for Game of Thrones, and I felt a bit intimidated, because all of a sudden I had to go in and replace Jonathan Roberts. And the funny thing was that he had done 3 maps that I had to go in and redo maps that he had done before. And Jonathan Roberts is one of my absolute favorite cartographers. So that was really intimidating to go in and try to do something that was more up to date, to better his work, so to speak. That was damn tough to do that. So that was a huge honor, so to speak. Yep.
So a question, Robert Conley, how to get Contour's height map into Bryce without it being a total trial.
Yeah.
What was your starting point for the height map that led to the Greyhawk map?
Bryce is interesting, because Bryce is so limited. So you basically have to do a tiny little area at a time. So the Greyhawk map is basically what I did. I had a Wacom pen, and I sat there and hand painted in using fractals until it looked cool from the top, so to speak. And then, so the Greyhawk map is actually made up of 2,800 of these tiny little squares. And then I exported out each square and then imported into Photoshop and kind of painted over the ugly bits. And that's how I got the Greyhawk map to be. So there is no 3D data from Bryce left for the Greyhawk project. I tried, because I have the Bryce file, and I've exported all the different height maps, but it looks like crap, so I can't use it. So that's that's the sad story, because I really tried and said maybe I can kind of, but Bryce doesn't have erosion. So once you look at it in 3D, it looks horrible by today's standards. So it works in a computer game from 1995, then it can look good, but in today's standards, no way. It looks horrible. So Bryce is unusual. You can't use it for any kind of high standard modern work that way. It's simply not up to the task anymore. But World Machine is getting replaced too. So that's I'm switching my whole workflow right now. So I'm coming to that a bit later. But this was Midgard, and then we have one more Midgard slide left. So then I did a political version of the map too. So this is kind of, and Midgard is one generation more modern in technology than the Flanneys project. The Flanneys project is 20-year-old technology, and Midgard is now 10-year-old technology. And we come into that because now I want to show you a little bit and talk about later what is today's technology, what is coming, so to speak. And that is huge leaps and bounds. Okay, then I have a few other projects. We can just skip them through very quickly. So here is one that I did for the Gryffindor games for the Barony of Walemore for their Lost Memories, the CC1 campaign that kickstarted like 2 years ago, I think it was, or 1 year ago. So that's from a technical standpoint. This is not big map, but it's a really cool map that I'm very proud of because it turned out really, really great. And then go to the next one. And here we have an interesting project. This is for Zombie Sky Press. And it was for a Fae adventuring module. And it's one of the only map I have, a set of maps. It was like 6 maps, I think, that are small encounter maps. So you can even see the 5 feet squares on it. So I kind of proved to myself that I can actually do close-up maps that looks fairly okay. So there's trees and bushes and a little stream in the middle and stuff. So yeah. Okay, we have Gary has we have a question here. Yeah.
Do you start off with drafts for these collaborations? You're allowed to invent detail. That's a good question.
It depends. Usually, I get fairly good kind of free reign, so to speak. But it's usually kind of a back and forth, because one of the key things, one of the main reasons that publishers hire artists is because they can't paint that well themselves. So often the publisher or the designer, and depending on who you talk to, the one giving you the mission, they often give you very kind of stilted kind of, it's interesting. Either you get hardly no information of what you're supposed to do, or you get the kitchen sink, or you get 10 kitchen sinks. So they either give you very like, oh, it's a world up there with a lot of ice in it. Yeah, and I want a volcano over here, and then I want a cool coastline over there, and then there's a big city in the middle. You might get something that vague that you have no idea. Or they simply say, here are my 12 novels. Can you please map that? So that's the problem there. And I can understand it, because they hire me and pay me because I have expertise they don't. So it will be like me writing a book. I need a damn good editor because I can't get the language straightened out at all. So it's often very much a back and forth. So I have to take the sketch, I have to do a sketch and then send it to them. And they say, no, that's not what I meant. And then you start doing it. So it's kind of an iterative process where you have to kind of do something quick and dirty, send it to them, get it criticized, and then get it back again, and back and forth. But after a while, you learn. It's like now I worked with Kobo Press for like 6 years. So now we have worked out a kind of a workflow. So now they know how I work, and I know how they work, so we can talk to each other better. But it's one of the trickiest bit in this business is to if you start doing this professionally, is to do effectively, and to ask the right questions and know how to send in what to ask for, so to speak, and what to demand. That's the trickiest bit.
So questions are piling in here.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I know you're going to show how you do mountains and stuff, I believe, later
yeah.
on. So we'll answer McLaird. We'll get to the answers. Yes, she does use it on basic geological principles. Definitely.
Oh yes, yeah. There's some of it. Yes, that there's, and this is a fantasy worlds we're talking about. So they need to be cool, but they also need to have at least one firm footing in real world physics and geology and all that. Meaning that you can have the occasional river that flows uphill, but most of them should flow downhill like they do in the real world. So exceptions should definitely be there, but then they need to be rooted in history or in fantasy or magic or something like that. But that should be the exception. Meaning you can have occasionally have mountains that float in the air or are 20 miles high and stuff like that, but they should kind of be the exception. Yeah.
Mark from Creative Mountain Games asked a question: do you throw Easter eggs and stuff ever? And I think I know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. And the funny thing is, with fractals, you get Easter eggs that are produced randomly, and we all remember when NASA showed one of these pictures where there was actually a phase on Mars. And a few years ago, when I worked in when I looked at the exports from Bryce, many years after I actually exported them, I was sitting there painting forests and stuff. I saw there is a skull in the landscape, and no one have seen that skull since, but it is there. It's a skull that was actually created by the fractals, so by sheer chance, so to speak. So that happens. So I mean, sometimes I throw them in. On the Greyhawk map, there is 4 or 5 places that I invented, and a couple of them no one have told me or kind of asked me where the hell is that coming from. And there's one Easter egg, and let me now I'm going to make it official. I probably told a few people one of the main Easter eggs, kind of Easter eggs. It's a kind of a feature that no one has asked me about, and we old Greyhawk fans know the Greyhawk logo and that wonderful red orange stone, and has no one have asked me why the rocks around Greyhawk are yellow red. It's because they are made, the logo of the Greyhawk logo is made from that rock. That's why the Cairn Hills are orange red, so to speak. They are roughly the same color as the Greyhawk logo. And one of the other funny thing is that the mountains, Santa Ana Mountains that I have next door here, they have a rock of that color. So it's so cool. I have the Greyhawk rock outside the door.
It is cool. Let me just say one other thing. If you pester Anna enough and you know how to do it the right way, you can get your own custom locations on the Greyhawk map if you are
Yes.
of yes.
Mhm.
So and that
Yep.
so that's another thing. Like Malden, who's on now, thank you, Dennis, has Melcott, his location in
Mhm.
Greyhawk. I have Altamira, my city, and there's Carlos Lysing has a couple of his towns on there, and
Yep.
so and
And yeah, let
locations.
us do a quick saying how I actually do the thing. It's a lot of people say, "Oh, should you bribe you in order to get the stuff in there?" And well, bribe me might work, but the main thing is that I look at the Greyhawk community, and if people, and I usually use Greyhawk Mike Bridges' awesome all articles and writings as a perfect example, because if you haven't, my main priority is to get the things from the texts. And after that, I look at the maps, because I know that the people that wrote the text are the ones in the know, not the people that do the maps, because they're like me, they come in secondhand. And then there are a lot of empty areas. And if someone comes up with something really cool to fill out the void, then I'll add that. But I'm hesitant to add it if it's only, a lot of people send me their personal campaign stuff and say, "Oh, we did this, you should put it on your map." But then my answer is that no, you should put that out for the whole Greyhawk community to have fun. If you put it out there and people playing it, you put it on Greyhawk Online, Cannon Fire, on Facebook groups and stuff, and you create a Greyhawk website, and people saying that, "Oh, this is cool," and the Greyhawk community likes your content. That's when I want to put it on the map, because then it's been scrutinized by way more than my eyes, so to speak. So it needs to, first of all, be complementary, not replacing official content or stuff that has been published. And it should have a broad appeal in the Greyhawk community. Then it's worthy. Then it should be on my map.
And it's not a hard step. Let me just say that.
No, it's not. It's not. I love to. The map should have more content, so to speak. And I have a personal campaign version of it with twice as much content. But most of that is something I don't put on the official map, or the published version of the map, because a lot of that is, I think, is not good enough and is not broadly known. But this version of the 576 map got a lot of my personal heraldry, especially from the Great Kingdom heraldry that I developed for my Reldevin campaign and stuff. And that has been fairly well received. I haven't got a lot of people telling me that's bad, that's wrong, and it didn't work. So sometimes I can even do things that are not really cartographic that people can like. So yeah.
Awesome. So shall we switch?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, yeah. You go back. Can you go back one again? I'm
Sure.
just going to mention.
What number is this?
This is. You go back to 11.
Got it. Just
Yep.
needed to know which one. There we go.
Yep.
Should we go back?
Yep.
There you go.
So
Cool.
yeah. So I did a map 2 years ago, Eastern Marshes, for Alex Kammer. I don't know the name of his campaign setting, but it was kind of a cool map, and it was a lot of wintry. That's why I chose to show the kind of top one. It was my first one that I did a lot of wintry stuff for. So it was a fun map project. Now you can go to the next one.
Cool.
And this is a map I did for Alex Kammer. oh sorry, for Hans Cummings for his books, and he's an awesome author. He writes fantasy and sci-fi, and I did a map. I did it both in color and then I did it in black and white. And that was one of the challenges, technical challenges with this project. I knew it was a map that had to work in black and white, and I had never really converted any maps to black and white. And that's the other thing you have to, if you start doing this professionally, you have to take a lot of publication, meaning how it's going to be published, both in size, color, format, and stuff like that. And that is something you have to build into the project from the get-go. So that comes with a lot of the scale, feature scale, fonts and sizes like that have to be. So this one turned out fairly okay, but it was a lot of work to convert it into black and white. So that was part of it. Okay, and then go to the next one here. So, and this is a kind of a weird thing. This was I think it was 4 years ago for the free RPG day, the Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and this is before they got big. And it's an American guy living in Finland that do some horror D&D old school kind of game, and he needed a map of some area. So this is a hodgepodge I just put together in Photoshop for like 4 days or something, and send it to him, because he had a cartographer that was supposed to done it, and that person didn't do it, and he was kind of panicky, so he sent me an email, can you do that in a week? And had a sketch and the adventure module in a PDF, and I just put this together in real hurry and just send it to him. So sometimes you get a chance to, if you can work fast, you can earn a lot of money. And that's one of my worst things. I can't work fast at all. I'm slow like crazy. So that's one of the yeah, it's Raji. Yep.
Gary.
And after.
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Raji. I forgot his other name, but he lives in Finland. And Lamentations of the Flame Princess, back when I did this map like 4 or 5 years ago, they weren't big at all. Now they won a lot of Ennies and got much more publications. So I've actually done a map for Lamentations of the Flame Princess too. James Raggy, thank you. Yep,
Excellent.
thank you. Yep.
Gary asks, how do you get commissions?
People contact me. That's the weird thing. I have never reached out and asked for commissions. I actually turn most of them down. Yeah, I say to most of them, and I don't really have to turn them down. I just have to tell them that I can't do it in the next 6 months or almost a year. And most publishers, they have a turnaround. They reach out and they want to have it done in a month or two. And that's something I have to tell publishers. You have to have, if you want a setting map, you have to order that one a year ahead, maybe even 2 years ahead, if you want to get it fit into my pipeline, so to speak. So that's and I know that I'm not the only one. That there's some other cartographers too. We are getting busy for some reason. So it's it's a good thing to have, but sometimes there are projects that I would like to do that I have to turn down or can't do because I'm already booked full. And I also have awesome patrons to pay me, so I don't have to do that many commissions. So that's, I can work on Greyhawk stuff, so to speak. And Greyhawk stuff is also not only my hobby that I do for fun, it's also my advertising material, because that means that I can do whatever the way I feel it should be done, and that is good advertising. So that's something, it's like I work on my portfolio and I spread it out everywhere. And that means that when you use it, share it, and put it out there and talk about it, that means that you're advertising for me. So I'm, and Jay is doing that so well too. So I'm, yeah, so that means that it's a win-win for me. Yeah.
If you ever had any issues with Wizards over the use of Greyhawk maps, that's a great story.
Yeah,
That's a good
it's
story.
kind of awesome. Yeah, no, I haven't. So far, I haven't. At first, I sailed under the radar very long when they had, because then they didn't have a fan creation policy. And if you posted basically anything on, and now we're talking 20, 15 years ago, they were rabid. If they found something on the internet where you talked about your Greyhawk campaign, they could come after you with a cease and desist. But I was so obscure, and I lived back in Sweden, and they didn't pay any attention to me. And I was insignificant enough, didn't any. But then, like when I moved to California, I started doing this full time and so on. Then I started doing stuff for Kobold, whatever. Then I came on their radar, and so they invited me to come to Dragon Talk and to be on their podcast and do a Twitch and YouTube show with them. So I flew up to and then I realized now I have my chance, because I realized that now. So I printed some pieces of the map specially made for them, and then had them with me, and they said that yes, we love what you do, and we talked about it and so on. So I have it, not a bulletproof get out of jail free card, but at least they've said on their public channels that they love what I do. So at least that gives me a bit more reassurance, so to speak. That so yeah, and I talk to them at times, so not in any official capacity whatsoever, but yeah, they are aware of what I'm doing to some degree, and I love D&D. So yeah, so it's kind of a yeah.
Awesome. It's a
Yep.
great question, though. I mean,
Yeah,
really.
awesome question.
Yeah.
Okay, this was just a quick overview of some of the stuff that I've done that some of you might not be aware of. So it's that. Let's go into more of mapping philosophy. Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, so this is the purpose of a map. And now comes this bit because and this comes that different DMs and different gamers and stuff have different uses for different maps. And maps can be anything from a pretty picture to something that you use just for a purpose. Imagine the difference between, go to the next picture and we can explain it with the illustration. So I hope that you can see this. You don't have to see all the details. You just have to understand what kind of map it is. And maps, one important dimension is between information and inspiration. And on the left, you see these two maps actually show exactly the same thing. They show a zoo in Sweden. And I actually know one of the guys that works there, so I asked him that if we can use this. So I'm actually, yeah. So I asked him, and he said, yeah, sure. So this is a zoo in Sweden, and the left one is what you get when you put Google Maps there. You can see the distance, you can see the roads and the streets, and some of the key points of interest. And on the right is one of the maps they use in their own advertising material to kind of show around, where you can see the cute little animals and stuff. But the interesting thing is that the map on the right is the inspirational map, meaning it shows where the cute animals are roughly. It basically wants you to entice you to walk around the whole zoo, so you don't know that that's over a hill where the elephants are or the zebras and stuff. So these are the two kind of the same map but the opposite ends. So the left map is that kind of boring, just inspirational, easy to read map that you find in your car GPS, for instance. And that's the map where you can use as a quick reference in a dungeon map. We all remember the old simple blue maps that we used back in the day, where you can see the number of squares in the dungeon. That's the map that is only there for information. And then you have the other type of map that is there for the DM to plan out where is the orc ambush going to be, or where is the right hill to build the castle for the knight or something like that. And that's there for inspiration more than information. So that is kind of the mapping spectrum, so to speak. And my maps kind of fit in more on one scale to the other. So let's look at Greyhawk and see the different versions of Greyhawk. So go to the next one. So this is the Greyhawk that we all cherish on the original Darlene map. And this is the kind of the classic fantasy map of Greyhawk that we've seen and loved and used. All Greyhawk gamers use this one for decades. A lot of people, Greyhawk gamers, they still love this map, and this is the map they're using and none other whatsoever. But what if the Greyhawk map was done by Rand McNally and was in a road atlas? What the hell would that look like? So go to the next one. This is a quick and dirty job from me showing what this area in Greyhawk will look like if it were done for a modern road atlas. So you will have the roads and the road numbers and the coastlines and where the forest is, and that will be it. Some of the borders will be there, and some of the rivers and stuff. That will basically be it. It's the same map of the same area, but for a different purpose. And what if we instead think about the Greyhawk area from an aerial perspective from airline pilots? If the airline pilot was going to fly over Greyhawk area, what the hell would they kind of map would they use? So go to the next one here. So this is what and I used to fly planes quite a lot. So this is the Greyhawk divers Hardby area, what it would look like if it were in one of these charts that the airline pilots use in order to navigate around the world. So that's, you can see the different landing pads and restriction areas and the terminal areas and the navigational stuff and so on. So I did these on a bit on purpose. So that's the same. And then go to the next one so we can see that's my kind of hybrid of all the stuff, so to speak. So yeah, so I hope that's kind of a bit kind of it's a bit of the fun. And now Jay is hidden behind the
I'm hidden behind the guy from Monty Python.
It's so funny. Even before we started this stream, Jay I couldn't see him for like 5 minutes because of all the animations that was in front of him. So yeah, so this is kind of something. If you want to design maps for your own games, you have to figure out what kind of maps are right for me, so to speak. So that's so I have to look into map cartography basic knowledge, so to speak. So what I tried to do with my Greyhawk map was to find the kind of map that me as a DM running my campaign, what kind of map would be the most useful for me. And then even then I wanted kind of two ways. So this is the DM version of the map that is for me to look at, reference myself, so I can see so I can describe the landscape and what kind of borders. I think there's like 10 or 12 different border types on this map, because that can tell me if the border is hostile, if it's precise, if it's a rim border, etc., etc. So there's a whole bunch of different. Is a town walled or fortified? Is it not? So the characters can just go in and out, sneak in and out at night without no problem. There are a lot of these details that has importance for adventuring that you can find quickly on the map.
And Anna, can I point out something to everyone out here too? You can take this map here; it's zoomable, and we'll explain it. So, like, you can get down right. I mean, blow it up that small area, and it holds its detail. It's so fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to?
Oh yeah, go to the next one. Okay. So then I created this version of the same map, and this is just like, imagine if you have the mayor of Greyhawk or the king of Furundi or someone. What kind of map would they have in their office or near the mantelpiece in their dining hall or something? This is the kind of map they will have, so to speak. It's very accurate, but it's like an in-game prop. So there's the difference. So I created these, I call them handout maps, because this is the kind of, if characters go to Greyhawk and they spend an exorbitant amount of gold, this is the kind of map they would get, that has all the cool stuff on it, but it doesn't give you the terrain detail more than rivers and stuff like that. So
one of our good subs, DM221532 asks, is this downloadable in this version?
This one is downloadable. Yes, there are a whole bunch of them. There's like 20 or 30 different versions of the handout maps. So go to my site and there's handout maps. There's a whole bunch of them. So yep.
Excellent.
It's downloadable. Yep. Okay, so then we go to the next one. Here is just a quick symbols, meaning the symbols. I have 3 different types of roads, and there are a bunch of different borders, etc. And now with the new river map, there is a bunch of river types and stuff to go with it. So yeah.
Okay, next.
Yeah. Okay. So now we come into the technical side here that we talked a little about early on. So this is how I used to create my map. This is the Flanny's map. It's done. So what I did was that I basically created the terrain texture in Bryce. And that's the green square, Bryce 5.5. And now there's like a version 7 of it. But I started in version 2, and then after version 5, when version 6 came, they kind of changed things, so I couldn't recreate the look. So that meant that I was stuck with 5.5 for like 15 years or something. So I kept that one. And then those small little 4 squares, those are simply showing that I created tiny little bit of small snippets of textures that I took into Photoshop, and then I merged them together, stitched them together, and painted over the ugly bits in Photoshop. And then I took the Photoshop terrain and put that in Illustrator. And in Illustrator, I added the symbols and I styled it and styled the symbols. So those are the symbol, my symbols, little symbol for symbols and symbols for styles under there. And then I exported it out in JPEG and PDF. That's the map we now been using in various forms for like 20 years, me and others. So that's the way I used to do maps. The Greyhawk map is made using that. But that is 20-year-old technology. And now when I started doing the Midgard maps with Southlands and then Midgard and then onwards, then I used a kind of a very different way of creating them. So you can move to the next slide.
Sure.
And now, yeah.
Chat is fire. I mean, it's going. This is great,
Okay,
everyone.
well,
Thank you
maybe
so
we
very
should
much.
take a break and see
No
if there's
questions. A
any
lot of
questions.
comments. A lot of good.
Okay.
A lot of good
Oh,
discussion.
awesome. Yeah, I can see some of it. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
perfect.
And I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep up and
Yeah.
with it. And
And
thank you.
yeah,
There's a lot of
KB
input.
Mango 1 has a great, if I've done a full Earth map, kind of, I'm working on it. So it's in very, very, very early stages. And there will be some slides on that coming. So yeah. So wait 10 or half an hour or something, and there will be some more coming here. So this is the current way I create maps now, and now it's getting way more complicated. So I start out with World Machine, and there you have the texture symbol, that green blue pixelated little dot. That's the symbol for texture. So I do the texture, and then you have the little mountain symbol. That means 3D data. So I create texture and 3D data, and you have the black and white little square. That's masks. And I'm going to show a little bit later here what masks are, how they're useful and what you use them for. So I create the raw data is texture, elevation, height maps. Yeah, the same mode. So texture, height maps, and masks. So the World Machine creates that. And by the way, that's Minnie, my doggy, my companion. She's 18-year-old Chihuahua Terrier. So she always lays here and wants treats and stuff. So I feed her well before this show starts. So she will be in food coma most of the time. So yeah. But anyway, so then I take the data from World Machine. So I take the texture and the height map and the masks and put them into Photoshop. And then I edit the texture, and I do a lot of stuff that we're going to show later in Photoshop. And then I can do what I used to do before. So I simply put the texture and then put it into Illustrator and add symbols and style the symbols and then export it out to JPEG and PDF. That is not changed. It's only that World Machine is way more advanced than Bryce. That's the only change. But then I have the bottom row. I can do something else as well nowadays. I can take the data from World Machine and I can put it into View. So I take the elevation data and from View, and then I can take the edited texture from Photoshop that came from World Machine from Photoshop, and I can merge them in View, and I can create a landscape picture basically, or an isometric map or something like that, and then publish that as a separate project, so to speak. So that's the way I've done Midgard and basically all the other maps you saw for the Southlands and Alex Kammer and a bunch of them. This is the model I've still have done up to this day.
How do you set your initial height on maps, and what fonts do you use? Is it based on personal preference of the
Yes, yeah. When it comes to the height of the map is basically first. It's you can cheat because World Machine you can set whatever, but it's kind of arbitrary because you have the grayscale. So it's the bit depth that tells how many you have, and it's 4 million. It depends on the bit depth. If you have 16 bits, if you have 8-bit depth, it's only 4,000 different pixels. So then you get Minecraft terrain. If you make it to a kilometer high, then it will be like 4 meters per pixel, so to speak. So per grayscale level. So but 16 bits, then you get like 2 billion or something like that. So the higher you make it, the more kind of steppy it becomes. So that's why I want to move from 16 to 32 bits. The problem is that the files become like 6 times larger in file size, but the hard drives are becoming bigger too. And RAM, it uses way more RAM. So that's one of the reasons. So you need to have a, I have 2 machines doing this. So I have one with 64 gigabyte of RAM and one with 128 gigabyte of RAM, and both of them are starting to go on their knees a bit. So I need to have something beefier to really work on huge data sets, because this is basically data that you manipulate, so to speak. That's how you have to look at it. So yeah.
What do you do for color blindness? Is it just grayscale for mostly in that instance, or is there something you can do?
Height maps are grayscale, but
Right.
I will show all the details about this will come very
Okay,
soon
cool.
here. So
All
yeah.
right.
So let me pop into one here, because now comes a caveat. I need to explain myself. So people who followed me the last year or year and a half have known that I've talked about Lindor Isles and Hepmona Land and then Ratik. So what the hell happened to Lindor Isles and Hepmona Land? And it's not the pandemics. I can't blame the pandemics for this, because it was too earlier. So yeah, so the reason we haven't published the Lindor Isles yet is that right now I realize that there is a whole new paradigm coming, a whole new generation technology, a program coming, that I will explain after this how that works. And so I kind of hold off on Lindor Isles and Hepmona Land, because I'm not sure which way to go. Hepmona Land, I have actually 3 ways of doing it. So I will do small little tests, and then it will be up to my patrons to kind of tell me which way we should go forward. And that's one reason. So there's 3 ways to pick from it. One is to do it the way we just looked at, using World Machine and Photoshop and View and Illustrator, the way it's been done. The other way is to wait, because Gaia is a new tool in the block coming, and I've been using it's done by Quad Spinners, an Indian developer, Dax Pendy. I've been on his alpha team for quite some while and tested, and he was he was my first patron, actually. So it's kind of cool. So I've been on his alpha team, and I've been able to peek into upcoming versions of Gaia, and it is awesome. So I'm waiting for that one and it's not production ready yet, so it doesn't have all the features that I need in order to do what I need to do, but what it has there, it's mind-blowing. It's awesome. So I want to make Hepmona Land and Lindor Isles using a tool that is way better than World Machine, and it's only a few months away, hopefully. So that's why I feel like it's better to hold off a couple of months and then get it done so good that it doesn't need to be done again, so to speak. And so that's the main reason that I haven't hold off on it, so to speak. So but if for some reason, we never know with the pandemics or whatever, if it takes longer, then if I haven't got a new version of Gaia that I can work on in June or something, then I have to ask my patrons and all of you to how we're going to proceed. Are we going to use the Lindor Isle that is halfway or 2/3 developed and then go with that, or the same thing with Hepmona Lands, or are we going to use World Machine for that? So that's something for the future. And the same thing with Ratik. I've done about 25% of Ratik in the workflow, so to speak. So they will all come. It's just a matter of what technology to use, so to speak. So that's the main reason I have kind of hold up. And the other reason is that I've been working for the past year, about 2/3 or 3/4 of my time on a Cobalt Press project. That is kind of awesome. So that is the other main reason that I haven't done these, and they haven't been out the door a long time ago. So yeah. So I'm sorry for it, but there's answers or reasons for it. So yeah. Okay, let's go for the next one. So yeah. And now we're going to dive into the technical.
Nice.
Let's dissect what goes into a 3D map. What are the components and the different layers and how to create them. So yeah. Oh yes, GM. Yeah, Vue is still part of my workflow and will probably be for some years. Yes. So because Vue can do, but Vue is going to be replaced with a game engine to some degree later. So that is something I'm still early on. So if we get some minutes at the end, I'm going to dig it deeper into what's in the next 5 years in the game plan, so to speak, because there is some cool stuff coming there. That's tomorrow's technology. So it's coming. So yeah. But Vue is definitely still in the pipeline because Vue is a 3D rendering tool that you can do photographic real, meaning it's software that you use to render the backdrops you see in Hollywood movies and animations and stuff like that. So it's the top-notch tool when it comes to creating virtual landscape that are absolutely photoreal. You can put clouds in there, mists and trees and billions of trees if you want to.
And how's our pace? We're through the first hour already.
Oh yes, we have first hour. So yeah, we need to go. Yeah, we need to. Yeah, we have. Yeah, let's move on with this. So yeah,
I just wanted to
yeah.
put that pace
So
up there.
yeah, so the example here. That's perfect. Thank you, Jay.
You're
So
welcome.
this is So this is the map for the Lothmar game setting for the Gryffindor game. So we're going to use this as the example. So this is the end result, so to speak. This is an almost finished map. So let's start from the beginning. So go to the next slide here. So the first bit is to dig into World Machine and do the programming. And the programming is done visually, meaning you have so these snippets, instead of having code where you look at the actual code written in numbers and letters, you have these tiny modules that you tie together and there you create the workflow. It does the same thing as writing it, but this is just programming using visuals. So it looks like a PowerPoint workflow thing instead. And I'm kind of have a little bit of dyslexia. So this is my way of programming because I can actually see how the data flows and where it comes from. And then you double click on each of these little nodes, and then you go in and just do all the settings in each node. And then all these nodes create the data we're going to look at. So go to the next one. And then you can do some of this visual. So you can put like rivers in there, you can put where mountain chains are in there, and then you can block out an area and say, I want mountains here of this type, and then you go in and do a slider and say, I want the mountains to be this tall, I want to have this much fall off, I want to have this much erosion of that type, etc., etc. So this is kind of 50% programming and 50% artistic, so to speak. So it's a mixture of you're kind of an artist but you're using fractals instead of pencils or colors or anything, and oils. You're painting using fractals. That's basically how you're doing it here. So that's the thing. Okay, so go to the next slide. So you can, and this is what in World Machine, this is what I've been staring at. Half the time I'm doing my maps, I'm staring at this in World Machine. So you get that was the same area we saw in the previous map. This is what it looks like in World Machine. Okay, so go to the next one. So then when you're done with it, then you export out the data. And here's the height map. So the height map is just a grayscale image that you export out. So you set the resolution and then in World Machine, and then you export out the data. So you start with, here's the elevation data, and then go to the next one. And
That's really cool.
Yeah, this is the basic texture. You have lowlands are just mostly forest covered, and then you have the mountains are a bit green gray, kind of depending on the slope and elevation and stuff. And then go to the next one. And here we have the shading, and this is so simple because you export out the shading on top, and then we go to the next one, number 33 here. So here is the mask, and this is where the coastlines and the rivers are, the main ones. This I didn't have the latest mask when I did these slides for Gen Con last year, so there's some fake afterwards that I had to do because the map was not really done, but it was a cool example. So there's some rivers that are missing, but the idea here is that you have masks that are black and white. So the white is water and the black is land. And then you go to the next one, And some masks are grayscale, and this is a slope mask. So the wider it is, the steeper the slopes. And these are so useful. Masks is something you can use in Photoshop to do some cool tricks in it. And then, yeah, so I'm going to show that here in a minute too. So go to the next one here. So, and then I usually export this one that is simply elevation colored, because that helps me to, and you can use this one to kind of paint in some colors and stuff. And it's kind of useful because in the beginning you want something to stare at that looks a little bit finished, so to speak. So these are the raw data that I get from World Machine. Sometimes, and you get these masks, I usually export like 25 or 30 of the masks. And textures, I usually do 5 or 10 different ones. But that was one of them. And then I do a bunch of different ones, and I can mix them in Photoshop. So let's move into Photoshop with the next one here.
Sure.
Yeah, so I start with just a random blue color or whatever. I think that is kind of an adequate watercolor. So in this case, I just took something that looks a bit like a mountain lake and in blue color. And then we add the texture, put the texture on top. And now we have the basic texture on top of these. So you can see the rivers and just roughly where the mountains will be and where the lowlands will be. And then add the next one. And then I go in and using a mask, I go in and paint in the darker colors of the water. So I get the rivers and the lake to look kind of fairly roughly done, so to speak. And
GM asks if you're trying to match a real world map for height or terrain rather than letting program randomize it.
no, I don't want to do that. I've occasionally used certain areas. I've stole a volcano somewhere in the world sometimes because it was like I wanted the volcano. So I stole a volcano one's elevation and texture and then painted over and changed it a bit. But no, I almost create all the terrain data myself from scratch. So I get what I need instead. Because most of the terrain data you can get openly is low quality. And if you want to use it for commercial purposes and sell it, you need to purchase it. And that's usually way more expensive than what an RPG publisher will pay me in the end, so to speak. So that's a losing proposition. So yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. And here the next step is to paint in the snow. And I'm using masks to do this. So I can use the elevation mask. And I come to that afterwards a bit to show you what it looks like here. So and now I realize that I forgot to put those slides in. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I forgot to put those slides in. So what you do with the mask is that the ones that you use, so I use the mask for snow here, for instance. So you take the mask and then you can select, depending on the grayscale level, if you want snow to appear at a certain height or a certain slope, and you can combine the masks. So the ones that knows how to use Photoshop and GIMP, you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about masking, because that's one of the essential techniques in Photoshop. And this seminar is not supposed to tell you exactly how you do things in a certain software, because that's something we need to talk a 3-4 hours session just on how to do Photoshop for this. So this is basics. Okay, so go to the next one. And now I'm painting in forests. And what I do with forest, then I also use masks. So I tell Photoshop that above a certain elevation, no forest. And if the slopes are steeper than like 40 degrees, no slope or no forest. And then I get a mask where forests can appear, and then I simply sit and doodle in forest where I want them to be. And use a green forest texture that I painted in Photoshop to begin with.
Next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to have the advanced seminar next week.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then we add the shading. You remember that kind of grayscale where you can see the mountains from the top, that white kind of thing. Then I put that on top, and I use multiply as the blend mode. Then you get this, and now you get a dark version of the map. And then show the next one, because then I put a blend layer on top of it, an adjustment layer. And oh, you jumped one ahead, but it's okay.
Oh, I'm
Jump
sorry.
back one.
I can jump
It's
back
okay.
one. What number is that?
That is number 41. Yep.
Let's see.
It's
Does it
okay.
work? It jumped to
Yeah,
there.
those
Okay.
it. Yeah, there you go. So that one, and yeah. I'm sorry, I took away that slide too.
Oh, okay.
So go to the next one. So
Okay.
I put an adjustment layer in, and voila, then you get a map like this. And this is a rendering in View that I used View to I put the final texture map, and I put the elevation in View just to show it. But you can see it from top down in Photoshop. So that's the basic anatomy of the terrain part of the map. And then you take the final Photoshop image with the shading and all that in Illustrator, and painting the roads, put the text symbols for towns and villages, and all the labels, text labels on it.
I have a question.
Mhm.
What would be on this map that we see this picture right here? The highest elevation, you think? 25,000 feet? A little less, a
Uh,
little more?
yeah, it will probably be in the 20,000. Yeah,
Okay.
like 15, 20,000. Yes. Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Next one?
Okay, yeah, go to the next one. So I did one project. That was the second project I did for my patrons. I did this set of islands, and these have all these ingredients in detail. They even have some buildings and stuff. So this was kind of a tech demo when I did all the stuff. And you can see what you can do here. On the left there, you have top down, you have a detail, and then you have a larger part of it. There is some close-ups of some old ruins and stuff. You have a village map. In the middle, you have a flyby render in View from there. You can see what the islands actually look like in real life, so to speak, from as a aerial photograph. And on the top, you can see what it will look like if you sail into the islands, but you can see them that way when the sun is almost setting. And at the bottom, you have some masks, and you have some of the handout versions of the map and stuff. So this was a project, and I called it the Estold Islands, and I've now placed them on Earth. They are east of they're in the Solnor Ocean, halfway out in the ocean, and they're south of Fireland. So they're like a small Azores out there so they will be detailed, and I'm using them as a tech demo and they will show up here in a couple of minutes, more detailed that I'm using them. So yeah, so that's the what you can do with the when you have all the 3D data. And now let's go into go back, just take a quick peek on the current. Go to the next one here. So this is a repeat. This is how I'm doing my maps, have been doing them up to now. Now it's starting to look at how am I going to do the maps in the future. So let's dig into, I'll show the next slide, because now we're going to introduce a new technology into this, and that's called Geographical Information Systems, GIS. That's basically how maps are done in the real world. For the military, for governments, for organizations, meaning UPS, they want to have all their trucks guiding around. If you use Waze or some map or Google Maps in your car when you navigate, you're using GIS technology. So it's being used for almost everything, from city planning to tourist maps to also archaeology projects. Basically everything that has to do with geography and maps these days, they use GIS technology. And what is GIS technology, and why the hell could this be something that can be useful for fantasy maps? So let's go to the next one. And Esri, that they put, this is their explanation what GIS is. And Esri is one of the biggest tool makers with the GIS business. They make ArcGIS, that is probably the biggest. They're like Photoshop or Word for the GIS tools, so to speak. It's the biggest, most used tools in the GIS toolbox. And the Geographic Information System is a framework for gathering, managing, and analyzing data. Well, that sounds very boring. And rooted in the science of geography, GIS integrates many types of data. Still sounds very boring. But it analyzes spatial location and organizes layer of information into visualizations using maps and 3D scenes. That sounds a little bit more interesting for us fantasy freaks. And believe me, it is kind of cool, because it is roughly what you can do in computer games, but for whole world. And if you want to have cool maps from dungeon maps to world maps, GIS is a godsend. And let us look into what you can do with GIS. And so go to the next one. And here is some of the benefits. I'm putting QGIS because QGIS is an open source software, meaning it doesn't cost anything. Anyone can download it and use it. And it is surprisingly powerful. And so I'm going to start basing my future Greyhawk maps and a bunch of other projects too on QGIS. Because one of the main reason for it, because then anyone else can take my data and make their own version, and you don't have to pay a penny to anyone. And it's also a standard, meaning there are a whole bunch of courses and YouTube videos and stuff on how to use QGIS. So you can all kind of doodle into it if you want to, or you can just use the end product the way you've done it before. But then you can do a lot of cool things with QGIS that you couldn't do before. And one of the most awesome thing is that it's the end result is not a picture. The content of the map is different from the presentation, meaning you can change the content. If you want that accurate DM's map, you can do that. And then you can reskin the map and make it into a parchment thing that is full of errors and look like something that came from a pyramid dug up from a 4,000-year-old grave. You can switch the same data and just have a style sheet and just reskin the map quickly. So that's one of the awesome thing. The other beauty is that data is georeferenced. You can just reuse data that you used before. You don't have to sit and doodle it over again just because you do it. If you want to have the road network of the world, you just import the road network into whatever you're doing. And that's the other cool benefit. You don't have to redo work. If you have coded it in and give it the data, a number and a location and so on, then it's there and you can just import it into whatever you need to do next. And the third really useful benefit, and this is something that Alan Grohe will love beyond anything. This you can embed metadata. So all the data basically comes with an Excel spreadsheet hooked onto it. So each town or village or dragon lair or whatever you want can have as much extra data as you want. Meaning you can have a link to a place in World Anvil or Evernote, or you can you can say how many orcs live in that dungeon there or whatever you want. You can put all sorts of data and tag it in there. And also you can get an Excel spreadsheet that summarizes all the stuff that is on the map automatically. You don't have to sit and look at the map and then write it down. You can just, oh, I want to have all the dragon lairs in my world. Just export it out with the stat blocks of all the dragons who live there. That's something that is technically possible to do. And you don't have to do it. And I can put in the towns, and you can put in your data and have them as separate versions of it.
Can you tag another map? KB Mango 1 asks.
Yes, you can. So you can import another map and you reference it and put new tags on it. Yes, that's one of the. You can do a lot of stuff like that. That's basically what they do in the real world. They take existing maps and georeference them and retag them and use them again. Yep. So you can do a lot of stuff like that. And then the myriad of export options is one of the beauties. You can export it as a database. You can export it as something to be shown on the web. You can do it and to export it to shown a PDF, a JPEG, and you can export it in to be used in game engines and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So that means that you can simply, the data is there in a raw format, and then you can export it into whatever you want. Excel, Access, ODBC database, yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. And it's open source tools, meaning these are, they kind of goes hand in hand, open source tools and established standards, meaning you can import it into Google Earth and you can wrap it on top and look at it in your browser if you want to. So there's the possibilities are basically endless for this, because you can piggyback on all the tools that are being used for real world maps. That's one of the beauties of using real world technology. Yeah.
Would it GIS allow you to create referenceable versions that would allow you then to have maps from multiple game years?
Yes, you can even put say that this town existed was built year so and so and became a ruin at year so and so. And then you can have a slider, and when you move that slider forward, it will turn into a ruin at certain times. Yes, these things are possible. Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. So it's a raw data, and you can write applications using it, so to speak. So yeah, so that's one of the Oh, we have a question again. Yeah. Yeah, you hex overlays. Yes. You can program whatever overlay you want. Some people might want to have a map that has a square grid, and then you can output it that is in a projection that is meant to be squares. You want to have squares that are 10 miles, or you want to have regular degrees and like on an atlas map, or you want to have 30-mile hexes, or you want to have 12-mile hexes. So I'm not going to talk much about it because now we're going to look at it. So let's go go to the next one. So here now it's getting complicated. So here is the future, and we're not going to go into depth, but you can see on the left that you have World Machine. It's still there as an alternative, but we look up to Gaia, and Gaia, you have the texture, you have the elevation, and you have the masks. And then you have a symbol on the right that is like the location symbol, meaning data things that you create in Gaia can be geo-referenced from the get-go. You can say, this is this part of Earth I'm working on right now. And then you can export the texture and the masks into Photoshop and edit them just like I used to kind of top them off. Or you can take the data straight into QGIS. And then you can take old maps from that I use Illustrator and stuff and put them into QGIS, like symbols and stuff like that, import them into QGIS. And in QGIS, you can style, you can georeference and stuff like that as needed, so to speak. And then you can export the data out to use in View for the landscape photography, or you can export the raw data or the data like textures and symbols and styling, and you can do the JPEGs and the PDFs that we've been using for the past 20 years. That's possible. Or you can export out the raw data like elevation, texture and stuff. You can make them into HTML, XML, Excel, KML and stuff, Google Maps and web bases and stuff like that, databases and stuff, so web service and stuff. So yeah. So that's the overview of technology. Now let's dig in and look at some of this in practice, so to speak. And the first test subject here is the planet Earth in itself. So this project has been going on for about 2 years. I've been learning this in the background for about 2 years. And then I've worked on it bit by bit. And the first bit is to figure out where do the continents actually reside. And that's where I've been working hard on for the past couple of years to figure out the basics and then present. And it's not going to be a finished thing you're going to look at. This is just work in progress, very early concept ideas. I'm stressing that. This is not the finished map. So don't have any hangups or too high kind of demands that this is not the end product. This is the early days. This is the Flanies map in 1998. So go to the next one. So I've been using Photoshop just to paint in the basics where I think the continents will be. And this is something that will be a map that will be kind of working in, I will work on for the next probably about 2 years before we have nailed down, and the community, because this is something the community needs to think that this is roughly a good idea and it works for most Greyhawk gamers. That's the kind of Earth map we need to work with. So my guidelines here are inclusive. I want to have something that works for as many Greyhawk gamers as possible. So I want to have many adventure locations as possible without being ridiculous. And it needs to be rooted in the story of Gary and a lot of the other stuff that has been there. So there's been so many different versions, ideas, and stuff being done over the years. So this is kind of a best of version that I'm working on, and something we need to kind of look into. Yep. Okay, we have George ask another cool question here. Yeah.
Various printers not really satisfied with any considering 11 by 17. And you got a real special printer, don't you? Or did you take that to the printer to get that done?
No, I actually used my photo print that I used to print my landscape photography and wildlife photography and stuff. So they were kind of so if you have a good photo printer, you can actually take it out. And if we will get to that later on. So I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. So go to the next one. So yeah, that's just a look. You can skip that. That's the look of the continents of Earth at the moment I'm in. Here now I've imported the basics of that map into QGIS. So here we look at it in QGIS, and here's the northern part of the Flanies and the Hyperborea or the North Pole or whatever we're going to call you want to call the northern part of the Earth that sticks up there around the pole. And then you can change things. So QGIS, you can change projections. So go to the next image. Then we can look at this map from space. So here you see the same area we saw previously, but here you have a global projection, an orthographic projection that you can see Fireland, you can see the polar area, and you can see the Flanies that way. So this way you can see things the way they really are, so to speak, and in detail. Okay, do we have some more question or yeah?
Oops, I'm sorry, I went ahead. My bad.
No, this is good. Yeah. So I've also taken the existing Flanies map and georeferenced it. So this one, then I came up with a few idiosyncrasies because there are some areas like both the city of Greyhawk and Rossies are actually, they have their latitude and longitude are mentioned in the products. The problem, if you put that in, it doesn't match the map of the Flanies that is actually have the longitude lines in that is in the glossography, I think it is, or in the 83 book. They don't match. So I had to make a kind of a compromise a little bit. So that is the stuff. So this is the basics of putting it in there. So let's go in, show the next one. So what happens if you take the existing map and look at that from the North Pole? This is what the Flanies look like from space in the North Pole. So you can actually tweak the projection, and you can have an accurate map of any part of the world using this. So you can put in and georeference. I haven't put any symbols and stuff on it yet, but they will be. So the future editions of the Flanies map will come from here, because that way you can put put proper hexes. We can put like projections and stuff can be right, so you can actually see the real distances. And the cool thing is, if you look at it, you can see a range scale, and you can see a north arrow, and I put a Greyhawk symbol in there too, because it's kind of cool to have that when you work. Okay, let's look at the next one here. So now we're looking into the details here, what you can do with the GIS technology. So this is, now we're back to my S-told islands, the ones we looked at, the example that I had as a test, those little islands that I placed personally, I placed them in Solnor Ocean. That Solnor Ocean is so big, so I hope that you other guys can accept that I put those islands. That's my little contribution to the planet Earth. But I made a little town, and now I can't read. Hang on a second. I'm going to make the window a little bit bigger here. So yeah, so I have Port Vossman here. It's you have the port city, and this is what it looks like. You can put roads and names and stuff like that, and buildings and symbols. So go to the next one. And not only can you work with 2D data, you can work with 3D data. So here I put the height map in, so you can look at the map from the top down, or you can look at it from any angle. And this is great for adventures, because you can kind of show them that little site with the religious site that is up there in mountains is actually much higher up than the city and stuff. So you can put these kind of elevation lines on it if you want to as well. So okay.
Gary's asking a question, like with the technologies you're doing now, and I know you were going to get down to like 100 feet. Is that? I mean, he's asking how detailed can you get?
Yeah, you can get down to any detail if you want to. It's a matter of the density of the data. This map has 10 feet per pixel, I think it is on this map. Yep. So yeah, I think it's like 10 or 20 feet per pixel on this one. So yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
let's go to the next one, because here comes the other cool thing is when you look at the map, you can click on one of the streets and you can find out how long that distance is, because everything has derived values and stuff. So you can get the street name, you can get so you can see that length there is 0.742 miles. So it's yeah, it's 0.7 miles or 7.2 or something like that in miles. So you can get that. And what you see on the right is all the metadata. You can put in whatever metadata you want. You can say that this street has gravel on it or has cobblestones or whatever you want. So you can put all sorts of stuff like that in. So yeah, or it's slippery or whatever you want. So the sky is the limit. So you can have the metadata on the right, and you can just click on it and you can get the metadata when you're running a game. You can have this as your map browser, so to speak. Okay, let's go to the next one. And I stuck another one, the same one in there twice for some reason, so I forgot to weed that out. So here we have the 3D data, and again,
Okay,
and you
no
can
problem.
navigate around. And here comes the thing, because this is one of the key things, is to make the maps as useful as possible. So because the maps, I'm not doing them, I don't want them to be an end product and then people have to buy it or take it or leave it. I want people to be able to take my maps as a raw material and then make their own version of it. I want you all guys to be able to make the map that is perfect for your games using my data and my map as a raw material. And now I'm looking into various ways of doing that. Before, you have to basically have Illustrator to do it, which costs 10-15 bucks a month, or more if you want to have Illustrator and Photoshop. It costs 50 bucks a month, which is ridiculous. So that way, now I just have to get my dog back up here. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Hang on a
And
second.
we're at about 20-minute mark.
Okay, good. Then we have two more projects to get to, so we have to do that. Oh, get there. So we have so I'm looking into QGIS world, and QGIS will definitely be, because I use that to create the map data. I'm looking into World Anvil, Project Deos, and Fantasy Grounds are on my radar, and a couple of others. But these are, so please contact me if you have like the tool of choice, and I'll see what we can do, because I want to support the tools that you will use in order to use my maps, so to speak. So
I know Mike Wilson, who's on Celestian, just his ears popped up when you said Fantasy Grounds. So
yes, yeah, the old version of Fantasy Grounds have been kind of useless to me because the pixel, they've only been like 1,000 pixels. But with
right,
Unity, that's a new ball game. So that means that it's interesting. So definitely, yep.
cool.
Okay, so let's go to the next one here. So yeah, now comes the few more things, the fun bit here, so to speak. So now comes some of the cool projects we have. The first one is that, of course, we have to have an atlas of the 576 version of the map. So that's coming. And I'm planning to do it horizontal or like landscape instead of portrait. I think it's kind of cooler. So that's the working hypothesis, is to make it into landscape, and it will be 11 by 17. I think it's a good format because it will not be that many pages, and it's a good format because there's a lot of people of you have printers at home, and you can go to Staples Print Center and something and print a version of it. And I've had several people now that have done some, printed out the 598 version of the map, and it looks really, really cool. So that's coming. And I also want to do something else. There's several sites where you can put together your own photo book and print it, and a lot of them have a file format. So I'm going to look into if I can make a file set for one of these photo sites, so you can download that site and upload that kind of manuscript or the layout to that site and have the book printed and send it, so they send it to you. So that is something that I'm looking into and see if we can get that to work.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that is, and go one more. So I made a mock-up of one of the pages could look like in the atlas, so to speak. So here you have the Greyhawk area. So I have the numbers. You can go to the different pages, and there's like a little mini map and a range scale, so to speak. So that's kind of what the
And
atlas could look
how
like.
many of these for Greyhawk?
It will be about 70 pages, I think, something like that, to cover the whole bit. Yep, it will be about 70 with the layout and stuff. The map is 66 11 by 17s. And then with the cover and the symbols and stuff, about 70 pages. Yep. And then now we're going into some cool things, because now I've been doing this. So
Blank.
now we're going to go blank and dark here. So yeah, because I want to do, and first of all, I'm waiting to learn all the ropes in the new technology. And I was thinking I need to have the perfect project to start using GIS technology, and also something that I know all of you have talked about for years and you've wanted. So now it's finally time. Go to the next one.
Yes.
Yes, we have to. Yeah, we have to start digging into the Underdark here. We have to go down to the domains of the Drow and the Darrows and the Dwerger and all that, so to speak. Because Greyhawk is full of awesome underground locations. So that is something that we need to look into. And this project will require two things before we can get it out of the ground. One is a lot of research, and the other one is to figure out what the hell should Underdark maps look like. Meaning we need to figure out what the maps should look like. And go to the next one. So first I have to take the normal terrain map and kind of tweak it to accommodate the underground material and stuff. So and then have to start weaving in and see what they look like. So go to the next one and we can see. So I started doing some tests to see what the Underdark maps can look like. Yeah, Jason Savoda, 3D. Yes, I looked into that too. And go to the next square. We can think of 3D as in levels and so on, but it's hard. So we'll see. But 3D is definitely one of them that I can work with. I stole one of my crater maps and then started tweaking. So this is one way of doing it. You can kind of show these stacked on top of each other. That's one way. And we can also go to the next one. We can do a 2D from top, so to speak. You can do, and this is just a loose, quick, dirty job of the stuff that Maldin had done an awesome map of. I just stole some of it and just doodled a bit and used some of that just to get like an idea of what we can accomplish, so to speak. So yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. Gonna be
Yeah,
another
so
really
that's
cool
something
thing.
that will kind of you have to do over this is probably a next 2-3 year project to work on. It's research and then tweak the presentation and stuff over the years. So yeah. Well, thank you so much. Dennis, Meldon. Yeah, that's I'm definitely want to. So I've stole some of your ideas just to do the concept ideas, but I want to have. I need Meldon's help both with the research and also of the geology and some of the stuff. So to create a whole bunch of
Malden,
other stuff.
I apologize. You should have a diamond VIP. I got to get to that. I don't want to do it now.
Yeah.
I don't want to crash anything, but yeah, I need to get you a VIP badge.
Yeah. So that was the very quick, and then you can go to the last one here, so we can keep this one up a bit. So this is how you contact me and stuff like that to dig into. So that was the quick, and now we have a bunch of minutes hopefully left that we can.
We have 13 minutes.
Oh, good.
Of good time for questions and for just general. Whatever you guys want to know, please. Let's throw it out there. I know we had some earlier, and thank you for all the ones. So your 598 map will no longer be updated, correct? You're going to go back.
No, I'd probably leave that one as is. We'll see if it will be updated in a way, because that is the base for my campaign map. So it will definitely be available, but I don't think I will spend a lot of time tweaking it, correcting it, and so on. But there is a pseudo updated version, because some of the research I actually put in there. But I think it's better to just leave that one behind now and use the 576 map as the base map for going forward. But with GIS, it's a lot easier to make different versions of it. So we can kind of look into that. Will be something to ask for the future, depending on the interest. If there's a hell of a lot of people that really say, oh, we miss it, we want it back, then of course I can spend some time doing an update. But that will be a question for my patrons. If they demand it, then yes, then definitely I'll spend some time updating it. So yeah.
Come on, guys! You guys were full of them. Let's see. I
Yeah,
love Underground Map of the Lord Mills for the Hateful Wars reference. I was thinking of maybe an area back, maybe of pre 576, maybe some limited areas. Maybe to consider that down the road. You never know.
Yeah,
So.
we're going to see. There was one. It was a couple of slides I forgot to put in here. We kind of stressed it past. So there's a couple of them. I didn't show the what we can really do. Like if I add them in Dropbox, can you show them quickly?
Oh, how you? All right. So, I'm trying to think of how to do this. Let me. We're dual streaming, and I'm paranoid. But
Oh, then we skip it. We
yeah,
skip it.
yeah,
I'll show it soon on
yeah.
the
I don't want to
on my
crash the stream
website
at
and
this
stuff.
point,
Yep,
guys.
then we don't do it. So
yeah.
yep.
So
Because I have some what Gaia and stuff can do, and you can show trees and you can show a whole bunch of stuff. So the sky is the limit. So I want to do certainly want to do some test iconic locations coming up. That will be part of the stuff. And I have something that I want to do for my own campaign that I want to do that will be really up close, so to speak. So I want to do some kind of battle maps for my own campaign, and they will be kind of one of the new really cool looks for it. And then you will have Lendor Isles. I want to redo Lendor Isles using Gaia in top-notch quality, and I want to get into Ratik and some of the other areas too.
All right, so
Yep.
Randy, Two Kings Games. I wanted to say hello, Anna. You're an amazing person and talented cartographer.
Hi, Randy. Yep.
Thank you for all you've done for the community. Robert Conley asks, the height maps again. Is it generate a realistic one with just a coastline and some rough contours?
The thing, what you do is that you use a fractal recipe, and then you can either kind of just use the fractals raw. You simply tell it to do mountains that look like big alpine mountains or sand dunes or whatever it is, or you can, and then you can mask it and say, I want this type of map of mountains looking like this in that area, and I want them to go up to 10,000 feet or only a few thousand feet. So you basically take, and you can paint masks in Photoshop, or you can generate masks in the software. So you can basically go in and just say this area is to have mountains like this, and I want a fallout. So I want full mountains here, and then I want to gradually have them drop down to the other area. And the same thing with coastlines. You can basically paint, you can take a black and white masks of the coastlines of an island, for instance, and then import that into World Machine or Gaia, and then have World Machines generate them inside. But that often creates harsh and stiff ones. So it's better to program the coastlines and all that in the program to get going. So it's basically writing code. You write the code for like a vector shape, and then you put an algorithm on that vector shape that gives it, twists it and bends it a lot, and then and blurs it and stuff, and then you kind of put it in. So it's very much a programming effort to do it. There's one other way of doing 3D maps, and I got an awesome question sent to me in email about that. Is like, how can you create? You can either program it in 3D, like in World Machine or in View or Gaia or something like that, or you can paint them in 3D using Blender or Mudbox or one of these 3D paint program. And that's basically like modeling in virtual clay kind of thing. That's the other way of doing it. You can technically, you can doodle them in Photoshop, and I've tried, and it's terribly difficult. It's almost impossible, because I have no talent in creating a black and white doodle in white on black, and then kind of imagine that, because you can't see that all the thousands of grayscale. My vision is not good enough, and computer screens are not good enough. You can't see the difference really. It's so you basically have you either use fractals or you use Mudbox or something to paint them in virtual clay. Yep.
So a couple things going on here.
Yeah.
Anna knows about Red Hand should not be on the map for 576. Correct.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We
It's
know
one of
about
the
that.
notes that, yeah, and
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
the gnomes in the Cron Hills, they didn't have their own territory in 576 either. So that's one of the other changes that's going to in there. So there's I probably have like 20 or 30 notes by now that needs to be changed. Yep.
So Garrity Sky says, what do you recommend for regional and territory maps to be used efficiently from the screen size of an iPad? I'll tell you what I do. I zoom in to whatever I want, and then I snip the area in a JPEG, and then I save that, and then I will use that in whatever
Yep.
application. You'll see that on like my entry screens and things like that, Garrity. It's really easy to do because our maps are completely zoomable. So that's just for me. Hopefully that helps you. Let's see. Yeah, and there's a couple others that we caught on a previous time, Josh, on. It's just you, Josh. Pop. We're not clicking off at all. It's on your end. So guarantee you, we're smooth. This is for dual streaming. This is pretty good. I don't want to curse myself, but we're doing pretty good.
Yep.
All right, we got 4 or 5 minutes. Throw them out real quick, guys. And please stick around because we have Greyhawk, celebrating Greyhawk, a fandom renaissance. Anna and I are both involved in that one, and we're going to be switching. Just stick around. It'll be 5 minutes. Boom, be back up, and we'll do that one. And guess what? There's no one after us on that one. Plus, there's going to be a ton of unbelievable giveaways during that one. I mean, where do you see some of this stuff? So.
We have Brian Bloomklotz coming in here.
Yes, so we have our whole crew that's going to be on that is watching now, which is good. So let me see what else we got. Gary Altimere's destroying 597 by a plague of sturges. Let's hope not. Because that's hope not on my game. So
though in your campaign it would never
Sturges. Now the Falcon almost tried, but it didn't happen, as we know in the fundraiser
and
event.
Burns and you've had fires and all sorts of invasions of various kinds. So
yeah, so we got a lot going on there, but that was funny.
Yeah. So this was a very quick overview of some of the maps and some of the tools and stuff. Yep.
But Anna's always available, and just note that Anna is on every Wednesday night with myself and Mike Bridges on Legends and Lore on this channel. So you guys can get Anna every week, and normally she's on a lot of my Gabbin shows too.
Yep.
So let me throw that up. Of course, I'm going to probably hit the wrong button here and then shut everything down. But so we don't have a title for next week's Gabbin. I'm sorry, next week's Legends and Lore. But it's to be determined, and that is already definite. So and that's at 8 p.m. Eastern, guys. So it'll be 7 p.m. Central. And when's Anna's next website release? Didn't you just do one?
Well, I have the new version of the website has been updated like a year ago, and it works fairly well so far. So I've had so many other stuff to do, but the spread maps coming out tomorrow, a new version of the spread maps for 576, so you can paint your evil infestations and stuff like that in GIMP or Photoshop. So that's coming. So so that's coming soon. And we have to do a Legends and Lore show about the Underdark and Drowse and stuff coming up, so we can do some of the help me out in the research and stuff. So
I'm going to ask the audience for assistance. I did not on the shout out do this. Can someone post Anna's Flannis Geographical Society Facebook page? So that feel free. That's a great place, guys.
It's on the screen right now, so they can see it. It's group.
Oh, there it is. Okay, it's right on the screen. Duh.
Yep.
I always rely on my shout outs. Yeah. So guys, great place to go as well. And there's a lot of great content being shared there. With thank you.
Yeah, and I saw that David Leonard Guntaka, he just posted a new cool of his. Snafu. Oh, sorry, sorry.
I know it's tough. It's tough to get all those cross names across.
Snafu. Yes, Snafu posted the next in the awesome series of Troubles in the North. Yeah, I'm looking forward to read that.
Yeah, we have. And we're going to discuss all this in the next show about how great the Greyhawk community is coming along. So those of you that please stick around, and
so
those of you that are on for the Anna experience, hopefully this was a sufficient, but we can schedule a lot of these upcoming. We have plenty of
Oh yeah.
content open. We can do a
Yep.
special night. We can do a Legends and Lore show, even a Gavin show, whenever you guys want. We could do more Anna content to get into a little bit more in depth. And
Yeah, we can make a special mapping show and
yeah,
dive into some of the technology in the future and stuff. And
yeah,
yep.
absolutely. And
Mhm.
know this, that it's not out of the realm for you to do these things and get to a point where you are comfortable with utilizing Anna's maps for your own campaign and doing whatever you need to do with them. It's not a big leap. I'm spoiled. I admit it. I'm spoiled. Anna spoils me.
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah.
but you spoils me. That's the thing. So yeah, you
So
let me be here.
you
So yeah,
really have some. Yes, Guten Tag, David Leonard is snafu. Yes, absolutely.
yep,
Um, so just note that it really makes a huge enhancement to your campaign if you're DMing something and you have an Anna map up and you have a blown up area, say of Verbabank, and you're doing Hamlet and you have a little village there or something, or you have a location you custom put in. It just is. It's so cool. So just think about that you have the capability of doing that now. So I just wanted to say that it's a blast, definitely.
yep,
Anything to enhance your game. All right, guys. So we're right there. We are going to log off. I'm going to do my exit screen, log off. We'll be back in like 9 minutes. So just stay on the
yep,
channel if you wish. Be right
yep,
back. Thank you all for a fantastic,
yeah.
fantastic
Thank you
show.
so much
See you
for being
shortly.
here. Yep,
Next show up, Greyhawk of Fandom Renaissance.
yeah. Thank you so much, Jay. This was
No,
a little bit forced,
thank you.
but
That was
yeah,
awesome.
Yep.
I'll let this run through, and then I'm going to crash. Guys, all right, any of the people that are on the next one, I'm going to shut my machine down. I'm going to reboot my machine to play it safe, to make sure we got nothing like chunked. And then I'll get Zoom up for the next meeting, and we'll go from there. So give me till 8:54, okay? Give me 4 minutes. And we'll get that back up and going, and we'll be back on hopefully by in 10 minutes. We'll be back up for the next one. Smoker if you got him, Josh. You're right.
Ooh, yeah, Gary. That's the spirit. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I gotta remember to shut off those streams.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yep.
No. We're on in 10 minutes, Josh. 10 minutes. So 4 minutes for the, yeah, we're gonna be right back on. Right back. That quick. Absolutely. All right. See you all very shortly. Killing the streams.